What's up guys, my name's Liam and today we're going to be talking about the SUPERBEINGS Lab Origins Memoria Pro. This is an incredibly premium quality mouse pad that I've been personally enjoying myself, but is this going to be the perfect gaming mouse pad for you? Let's check it out. Alright guys, and before we get started, I do want to let you know that SUPERBEINGS Lab did actually send this mouse pad out to me. However, they didn't tell me anything to say or anything like that. So everything that you're going to be seeing today in this video is going to be my truthful, honest opinions and my own words. And jumping into the packaging here, I apologize about the lights reflecting off of it. I just want to show you briefly, really quick. I don't want to go into too much detail about this packaging due to the fact that this is just a pre-release unit. This is subject to change, but I did want to let you know that this does come flat packed and they do plan on releasing it with its own sleeve, easily for storage, and it has some really cool artwork on it. And here we have the actual mouse pad itself. And just so you guys know, this is actually going to come in two different colorways. It's going to be an obsidian color, which is just going to be a black, and then this colorway, which is the Arabelle's blue. And as you can clearly see here, this Arabelle's blue looks absolutely incredible on my desk. This is coming in at 490 millimeters in width and 420 millimeters in height. The pad sits at 3.5 millimeters in thickness, and I do want to say, upon taking this out of the box, I truly was impressed at how premium quality that this thing actually feels. Starting out the base, they use a polyurethane foam, feels really similar to the other types of pour-on bases out there. And I do want to say that the base, it feels pretty sticky, it feels a little rubberized on the bottom. Overall, no issues, no complaints. Once I set this thing down on my desk, it stuck to my desk perfectly, never had any issues with it moving around on me or anything like that. And in fact, it sticks so well that once you actually do plant it down, the only way that you can really move it is you kind of do have to pick it up and peel it off your desk to be able to adjust it around. The stitching on this is incredible. It does sit slightly below the surface. The quality looks perfect. It's smooth to the touch, and all around, it truly doesn't get any better than this. And when it comes to the overall plushness and stability, even though this is sitting at 3.5 millimeters, it still is plush and you can push into it, but it doesn't feel as soft as something like the Artisan xSoft. With my experience while gaming on this pad, it is firm enough to where it gives you a very good consistency. But again, if you do need to push into it for some additional stopping power, this pad does give you that option as well. And I never once felt like my mouse was ever sinking into the pad or was scratching the sides of the mouse or anything like that. The surface features a micro-woven textured fabric cloth. And though you can feel just a slight bit of texture there, I would definitely classify this pad as being more on the softer side. And when it comes to the overall performance, this thing has been very enjoyable. As you can see here, this definitely gives you quite a bit of control. And my experience while gaming on this is it does give you a very fast and consistent glide when you need it to be. But again, when you slow things down, you never have any issues with control and you never have any issues stopping on this thing. And probably one of the biggest things that has stuck out to me with using this pad, one of its greatest strengths, is when you get down in those little micro adjustments. Though this thing does have great control and stopping power, I never felt like it was too muddy when you're trying to go back and forth doing any really quick up close tracking, or if you're trying to do those tiny micro adjustments. And even though, like I mentioned, it is slightly textured, it's just silent when you're making movements with your mouse across the top of this pad. Depending on the type of skates that you use, I truly feel like this surface is really consistent all the way across the board. Starting out, if you're using something like smaller type skates, it does give you a slight bit of a faster glide and you still have great movement, great control. And again, those little micro adjustments are really easy to make with the smaller types of skates. And if you are using something with bigger types of skates, I do kind of feel like the bigger types of skates do give you overall a little bit smoother of a glide than the smaller ones. And I would say that the performance on bigger skates, pretty similar to the smaller skates. I do feel like the smaller skates are just a little bit faster, whereas I feel like these give you a bit more control and stopping power. And then finally, if you're to play on something like glass skates or sapphire skates, this pad truly offers a great experience on all these options. With both of these skates, you still get the same great qualities. You get a pretty smooth and fast glide, but as you can see here, it still is actually really controlled when you're using these types of faster skates. The glass and the sapphire skates do give you a lot less of the initial friction, but again, as you can see here, still great and consistent smooth glide with really good stopping power. And when it comes to comparing the Memoria Pro to some of the other similar offerings that are on the market, this is kind of a more old school Artisan FX Zero in mid. And how the Memoria Pro compares to the Artisan FX Zero in mid, as you can see here, the speed is actually pretty similar. I would say that overall, probably the Artisan, the older version, is just slightly a bit slower. And one of the big differences I noticed between these two pads is I do feel like you get a little bit more initial friction on the Artisan FX Zero. There's a little bit more muddiness and control when you're trying to make those micro adjustments. Now, I'm not saying that you don't get control on the Memoria Pro. I feel like you get great control. You just have a little bit less muddiness and it's just a little bit easier to move around. So I would say that when it comes to the overall speed and usability between both these pads, I feel like they are pretty close to one another. And then next up, I wanted to put it up against a newer version. This is the Artisan FX Zero in the dye orange colorway, and this is the xSoft version. As I mentioned earlier, I do feel like the Memoria Pro is really plush, but again, it has a bit more of firmness and consistency than the xSoft. I would say it's closer to something like the soft version of the Artisan pads, but again, overall, just a little bit more consistent for me. And as you can clearly see here, when it comes to the performance of both of these pads, I do feel like the newer dye orange colorway, I do feel like it is a bit faster than the Memoria Pro. The surface of the Artisan FX Zero is a bit softer and having a little bit of a texture and a little bit more firmness here. Overall, I feel like I got just a slight bit more of control with the Memoria Pro. All right, and then the last pad that I wanted to bring up here for comparison is a pad that I used to enjoy very much. This is an old school, kind of beat up Aqua Control Plus. One of the first things I started thinking about when using the Origin Pro is how it kind of reminded me of the Aqua Control Plus. I do feel like the Aqua Control Plus has a pretty good balance between speed and control, and as you can see here, gliding them next to each other, they are pretty similar in terms of performance goes. However, the two major differences that I noticed between these two pads, I feel like the surface on the Aqua Control Plus is a bit more abrasive, whereas on the Memoria Pro, overall, I feel like it has a softer feeling to the touch. When you're trying to make the micro adjustments or do the really fast tracking on the Aqua Control Plus, I do feel like it feels just a bit muddier and a bit slower, whereas on the Memoria Pro, overall you just get smoother adjustments and it's a lot easier and quicker to go back and forth. And then finally, the Aqua Control Plus kind of has more of a rubberized, firmer type feeling to the pad, whereas overall the Memoria Pro kind of has a softer overall feeling that's easier to push into. All right guys, so that wraps things up for the Memoria Pro. Right now, this is currently on pre-order and is coming in at $49. If you're familiar with any of the types of pads I've talked about in this video today and you understand the performance, I must say that as far as the overall quality, the feeling, I mean, just right out of the box, when I took this out and put on my desk, it felt incredibly premium. I haven't had any issues or hiccups with it. So I'd absolutely say that this pad, if it has the performance of something that you're looking for, that I would absolutely recommend checking this thing out. This has been one of my favorite pads that I've used this year, and it's absolutely going to stay in the rotation of my top pads that I'm using. All right guys, so if you have any questions or feel like there's anything that I left out, please let me know down in the comments below. Aside from that, if you did enjoy watching this video and you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.